How's it going? I just realized that this whole thing was on mute the entire time I was talking. All right, so what I'm showing now is the project that currently exists on GitHub. A link to that is down in the description below. So if you want to go look at the source code for this, you can go do that by clicking that link down in the description. All right, so the scripts, let's see, that is a different project. So this one is actually what I'm gonna be doing today. There are a number of items here. So I need to have a script to be able to basically handle inputs, a folder for the voice processing, and then output, um, and then other few other items here. I have some of this in the current application, and some of it is not. So there'll be some additions here, and so this will be the first part. The additional sessions that I'll probably do, I might just record them and publish them here on my channel, so that way you can learn scripting that way as well. All right, so go ahead and go over to the script here, and all right, so got the code ready to go. So the main file in a Java application is the app, or at least this one is app. And so I'm using properties files in my Java application, but what I want to do is actually not use those in this script. I want to be able to do variables that are based upon the environment, or the configured based upon the environment, or the folder even. So I'm gonna actually hard code all of the values here into the script itself. Now there is another way you can do that by just having a script source another directory, or excuse me, a script sourcing another script that has those variables defined. So that sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. It just depends on your scenario. But like I said, I'm gonna hard code this stuff in. So I'm just going to call the name of the script render video. And as you see, I have some other scripts already in here, so I may be taking a bit of pieces from here, from there, over. So I'm going to go ahead and close that one back. All right, so the first thing is what is known as the shebang. That basically tells you what kind of script what kind of shell this script is designed for. So usually when I write scripts, I write them for Bash. In the past, I've also written scripts for KSH. And so with KSH, you can get away with writing stuff in Bash. The only problem is that I don't like is the CSH. CSH, you're not able to do that like Bash syntax as easily. And Z, as in Zeta SH, it also has a different syntax than Bash. Some people like the ZSH because of the fact it has more horsepower behind it. Not really a fan, and most systems that I've used don't have ZSH. They usually have the standard shell, Bash, KSH, or CSH. So that's most of my experience. All right, and then so usually I put a header block with the details about the script here. I'm not going to populate all of that here. I'm going to do that before I actually commit it though to the repository. Next thing up is, so we need to go to the Java application, and so it's looking for a properties file to load. That's the first thing. So I'm gonna just let's see how I want to do this. So I think I'm gonna use, for now, I'm gonna use a if condition. Then maybe at some point in the future, I'll probably change it to something different. And so I'm actually, let's see. So what I'll do is, because I have two separate channels on YouTube, I have this channel that you're watching now, and then I have another channel that does dashcam videos. And so the way those processes work, as far as what goes into them, doing them, is slightly different. The reason I have them separate is because their content is separate, and possibly be able to get two working processes at the same time, because the videos you know, some of the dashcam videos take a while. I had created a 4-hour trip that I had one time on the dashcam channel, and I think it took over 12 hours to render that video. So, you know, I don't want that blocking the other one. So I'm gonna try to see if I can design this in a way that will allow both processes to run at the same time. But I may not be able to do that on the first go. So let's see, how can I do this? All right, so I think what I'll do is I'm gonna design it in a way that it will accept some kind of parameter value in, and based on that, it will know which configuration to run. So $1 is representative of the first argument that's passed in to this script. And so if it's almost engineer, then it's going to know to use a certain set of values. So the directory, let's see. So the process dir, or what did I say I was going to call it? I think I said the incoming. Is going to be slash home. No, let me see. All right, so I need to connect to the other system to get the directory that it's in. All right, so render. Okay. All right, so this is that directory. So I'm gonna copy that. All right, and so I'm gonna put this over here, and I'm gonna actually change the directory structure on the server, so I'm gonna go ahead and code it that way. So I'm gonna call it almost engineer incoming, and case sensitivity does matter, if you may know, on Linux systems. So be sure to use that as lowercase, and if you're used to using like Java or Python for other programming languages, the variable declarations in Bash scripts are different. And so this is how you declare a variable. You just set a value equal to something, and then when you call that variable, and like here, there's two ways to call it. You can call it like this with the braces, or you can do a variable declaration like that. It's the same thing. The only thing is I prefer to use this because sometimes you can join variables together within strings, or you concatenate strings together, and it lets you know exactly where the variable part ends and where that string continues. So I prefer to do my variables this way when it comes to shell scripts. All right, so the incoming directory, I also have a output. So I'm gonna call that YouTube dir, and it's gonna be in the same thing, but we're gonna call it slash upload or ready, upload ready. That's what I'm gonna call it. All right, and then I have a archive directory. So I'm gonna call that archive dir, and just call it archive. You can spell it correctly. And the last one is a call it working directory, and call that one working. We'll name that lowercase archive. All right, so that's for that particular value, if value is 1. All right, the second one is going to be for dashcam. And so if dashcam is the value that's passed in, and I need to do an else if condition here, so that'll be the elif. So it's going to be similar directories, but I'm going to change all of these to dashcam instead, and just copy that all the way down. All right, and then I'm going to do an else and put an error code of 2 here, and in here do an echo invalid value for R1 was passed in. And that way, if I don't pass a value in, it blows up, essentially blows up, and does not try to process something that it does not have a value set for. And so, and also in my shell scripts, I usually like to do an example of the usage. So this would be render video.sh with the type of video. So I'm gonna do we'll do channel in here as an example. And so basically either the almost engineer channel or the dashcam channel is what would go in this value. And you can specify, that can be specified here. Channel is either almost, oops, I gotta escape that since it's a quote within a quote. Almost engineer slash or slash dashcam, and close that out. All right, and so I'll also do a using almost engineer values. And so I like to put in the, when I have certain conditions in here, I like to put in echo statements to track where certain thing, where the process is. That way I know if it blows up somewhere, you know, I know why, or if I'm starting to get some errors, and I notice it's using the dashcam values, but these dashcam folders, something happened to the dashcam folders. Let's say they got accidentally deleted and it started throwing errors. Then I know, okay, it tried to use the dashcam values, but those variables were not defined. So end up having to go back and create those folders. All right, so we got that set of logic here. So determine the type of video. All right, next up is, and for those of you on Instagram, I know I'm not able to show the whole screen on Instagram because of how I have to set it up. You'll have a better experience on YouTube. If you want to join, just go to the link that's down there pinned. The pinned comment is a link that'll take you to the YouTube video where I'm live streaming there. All right. All right. So now we got to determine the values. Actually, let me go and see what other values are also in that particular script or properties file. So I'm gonna view one of these files. Okay, so I also need whether to do time-lapse videos in here. So I'm going to set create a variable called do time-lapse. I'm going to set it to no. And for my dashcam videos, I do want it to automatically create a time lapse, so I'm gonna set that to yes. All right, we should be able to go from here now that we've determined that. All right, so if you go back to the Java file, all right, so the next thing I have it doing is checking to see if a duplicate process or if a process is already running by this. And the way I do this is that I actually have it creating a file on the file system in the temporary directory, and it just writes that with the time the process start. And the reason I do it this way is so that the two processes do not try to render the same set of files, because then that would cause major confusion. And so and the reason another reason I do this is because the cron job that I have is set to run every 6 hours. And as you may have heard me mention earlier, some of the videos can take 10, 12 hours to render. So that's why I also do a double check on that. All right, so what I'm going to do is so what do you have here? So create the process file. All right, so I have it checking, so create the file. All right, so I need to see how to, well, really I can do it this way. All right, so create process file. All right, want to touch a file and actually give it a, what do they call it? Process file name. And we'll set that equal to /temp, and then render rate in dir .temp, and I want to put the date in there, so I'm going to do a $date. Thinking do well, really it doesn't matter if that's there or not, I'm thinking. So I'll do render.temp. All right, and so we do if, and there is a way in, let's see, check if file exists bash, and I think it's if-f, yes. So, okay, so that does not exist. All right, so do if-f, and actually we'll just use the variable name, process file name there, then close that out. And so if you've never done shell scripting before, when it comes to writing if conditions in shell scripting, the one thing that you'll want to note is that your braces have to have spaces after, inside of them. So like there's a space here, and there's also a space here. And if you don't have that space, that condition does not work. And even in this example here, you'll see there's a space there and a space there. And I'm not sure the specifics of why that's the case, but I know it has to do something with the syntax of bash. And so you just have to keep that in mind when you're doing that. Be sure that if you get some error when it comes up to your if condition, make sure that you have the space in between your braces and whatever you're checking for. I know in a lot of like Java, C#, PHP, they don't require that space, but in Bash, that space is mandatory. All right, so we have that there. So if the process file exists, then we want to go ahead and exit, and we'll denote that the video rendering is already in progress. Now, there are other ways that this could be done, and I may switch that in the future to do it a different way, where it actually checks, where it runs the command ps, because if you're not familiar with ps, let me pull up a window over here. All right. Clear that out too. All right, so if you do ps, you'll see what is actually running. If you do PSEF, it'll show you everything that's running. And then from there, you can filter out maybe on, let's see, Chrome, because I also have the Chrome browser open. And as you see, hold on, try that again. All right, so I have multiple Chrome processes open. And so I could actually probably do like a count of how many times. So if I do Chrome, WC-L, all right. And so on Chrome, you see here, so it's showing that I have 10 lines that show Chrome. And so I could take this value and say, all right, if I have 2 rendering processes running already, then don't run anymore. So something like that nature. But that's a little bit more advanced logic that I'll probably work on at a later time. And the main point right now is just to get one process running and not have multiple running at the same time, so that we don't have any conflicts. All right. And so this one also is putting text into the file. So I guess I could go ahead and do that too while it is being created. So if the file exists, then video rendering is already in process. And I'm trying to think, do I really want to do it that way or not? So, because I always design my when I build my applications and even shell scripts, I always design it for if it fails, that is designed to, if it runs into a condition that's not expected, it will fail even though it probably should have passed. And so you'd rather have a false positive than a false negative, because when you have a false negative, it gives you, it will tell you, it'll say, hey, this failed, but in actuality, it should have passed. And so you want your things to fail and throw an alarm if they fail when they should not have, than to pass when they should have failed and not throw an alarm. That is something I've learned in my years of working in production support. They designed the application to always, they designed it for the scenario of always passing instead of failing, and when it would pass, it should not have passed. And so you end up having to, nobody really checked it until actually something was like didn't look right, and then when it actually got looked into, then that's when you realize, oh, it's been failing the whole time, it's just not throwing alerts. So I'm actually probably going to change this so that if the file does not exist, then the process can start, and if the file does exist, which would be the default condition, to exit. Yeah, all right. So if the file does not exist, then I want to create the file name. So process file name, and I want to echo into that file. Where is it? So started at datetime. Okay. So echo started at, and then do $date. All right. And so I want to put that into the process file name. All right. So what that means is, so touch will create the process file, and I'm putting it in the temp directory, the system temp directory. And the reason I'm putting it in the system temp directory is because that if the system restarts, I don't want this file to remain. If the process crashed and I restart the system again, I still don't want this file to remain. And so this file, the temp directory, gets cleaned every time the system is restarted. Sometimes I have my system restart every week. Sometimes I have it once a month. It varies. Sometimes after every update or security update, I do restarts. So it has plenty of opportunities for this file to be removed if it gets stuck or something like that nature. All right, and then I also want the date in here. And so to run a command within a script, you can surround that command and put it in $ parentheses, as you see here. And so to demonstrate that, I'll just go ahead and take this command here. If you go back, so I'm going to copy this part here and copy, paste. All right, and so you see it will echo that date command, and the date command by itself won't do anything in that parentheses, because but if you do echo in front of it, it knows execute whatever is inside of here, and then print that. Once that is evaluated out, print that out. And so that's how you get that. All right, so that is done. The next item is to, let's go back here. All right, so we've checked that. The path is already running. And so it's checking how many files are running, how many files exist as well. And if it's running, it'll just say the process is already running and throw an exception. And so in this case, it will exit if it does see that already running. All right. So the next step, going back to our main app.java file, is to look up the files in the pending directory. And then we'll loop through each one of those files and process it accordingly. All right, so make a note here, or a comment rather. Loop through the all right, so well, actually I'll call it the incoming directory. Again, because I'm changing the folder structure a little bit from what it currently exists, so the names will change as well. So the incoming directory. All right, so the incoming directory we have defined up here as a variable. So we'll do for, let's see, so process pending file is all right, so file operations, where are we? So file system, file operations. So we're doing the get files in folder. And so we're listening recursively. And what else am I doing here? So, all right, pending files, process pending file. All right, so that's another Java. You can create functions in shell scripts. It's a little bit difficult to do, but it can be done. So I'm going to do clean render directory, and just going to do rm-rf $ working. And so this will be called after, even though I'm putting the function above it, it's not going to be called till further down here. So that variable will be defined in the script. So I'm not concerned about that there. So for, let me see, incoming directory. All right, and so we're going to do do and done. And so with do and done, it's going to also be, let's see, do and done, do and done. All right, so I really want the, actually, let me do this way. All right, so I'm going to cd to that incoming directory, and then I want to do the files that end in *gz and *tar and save. All right, and that way I know that I'm only getting what's in this directory here, regardless of what it is. All right, and next, so we're done with the duplicate processes. We're on our process pending file, and once you get the, so if a pending file ends with that, then want to, so it's displaying a message of the file that is being processed. All right, so do echo processing file name. Next one is extract package. All right, so if we go over to here in this particular file. All right, so my, wait. Extract package, so unpackaged compressed tar. All right, so that's what this one is calling. All right, so if the file ends with gz, then it does one, it runs gunzip on that file. If it's already a tar file, then you just have to untar it, the contents of it, to another directory. So I just need to check that. All right. So file name, all right, and then we'll do if, and doing double brackets this time because of the type of condition. Double equals star and colon dot gz, and so this is how you check the end of the file name. So you do the star, which stands for the wildcard, and then the .gz is what you're checking for at the end. And so do then, and I'm gonna go ahead and close out the remaining part of that. And I want to do /bin gunzip and do file name here. Let's see, what else does it have in that? Oh, extract project. All right, so bin gunzip. And I like to put the full path to some of the executables. Sometimes when you just run just the process that you're trying to run, it doesn't necessarily do that correctly. And so sometimes you'll need to use the full path. So that's what I did here. The same thing for echo and date. I'll go back and change those at a later point. All right, and so I'm gonna make a note here, uncompressing, and then the file name. All right, and then so when you uncompress the file, you get you're left with the tar that's there. So handle file if tarred and compressed. All right, so next will be the tar file. So in here, unzip. All right, so create folder. So it's creating the output directory. If it does not exist, I don't think I need to do that, but I can put an if condition here. So if the exclamation point dash F and call it not archive. What I called it? I think I called it, yeah, working directory. So if the working directory does not exist, then we call make dir working directory here and close that condition. And so to close out an if condition, you may or may not have noticed this. You do the fi, which is if in reverse. And it's a similar thing for when you're doing case. So to start a case statement, you do case, and then to end a case statement, you do the spelling of case backwards. So just a little bit of tidbit of information there. For for loops, you just do and done for those. So there is no backwards spelling for that. All right, so checking to see if the output directory exists. Okay, all right, so after that, extract project. So creating it, so the path file to the tar. So what it's doing is stripping off the GZ of the file name and running that through the tar extraction process. Okay, so untar the file to the working directory. All right, so I have to see how to do that. I think there's a substring variable value. And so while you may not necessarily want programming, a lot of programmers probably won't admit it, but a lot of times you can find the answer to the problem that you're trying to solve with code by searching the internet. The best of programmers know how to search very well on the internet. In some cases, the best of programmers know how to search online better than they do know how to program. And I've seen some examples of this. All right, so, okay, this is substringing. I'm trying to see if I can do a -3 in substring. Because if I can do a -3, then, all right, so test a, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, how about this? So bash remove extension from string. I think that's what I'm looking for. Kind of similar. All right, so do foo. No, not quite. So I was kind of looking for sed to see if I could find something with sed that would do that. I don't necessarily know the suffix. Well, I guess I could. If I knew that the file ended with .gz, then I could remove the .gz out of that file name and end up with the tar file name. Trying to think. Echovar space no. Okay. I see how they're doing it here. All right, so let me give that a try here before I actually go put it in my code. So I'm gonna set this variable equal to, I need a file name from the server. So I'm gonna go over to the server. Come on. Up one level, 80 outputs. Nope. Archive directory. All right, and so here I have some file names. So I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna put this into the value I have set here. And if I do echo of the test var, it did not set. Oh, that didn't spell it correctly. Okay. And so if I do test var, all right, so wait. All right, echo test var, and then the example here says to do that into sed and replace. All right, and so sed is the find and replace tool that you can use to remove or find and replace tool rather, so that you can strip out strings like I'm trying to do here. All right, so if I do this correctly, I should get option unknown to S. All right, so I need to go back, change that to E. Nope. All right, what do they have here? So they have lowercase s, uppercase s, colon, colon, slash G. Oh, I don't need that slash. All right, so that gives me my file name that I'm looking for. So I can copy this and go back to my script. Where is it? Here we go. All right, so I'm compressing the file name, the GZ file name. All right, and so we'll do tar file name equals the $ parentheses echo file name, and then send all of that to sed, which will move the GZ at the end, and then we'll have our tar file name set here. I actually probably want to put that back into file name because that would, at this point, that would be the file name now. And I also want to change this file name to all uppercase. My experience has been that a lot of the variables in shell scripts usually have all uppercase file names to distinguish them from a just like a command in Linux. Usually commands in Linux are always lowercase. So to do the variables in uppercase will help you with that distinction. All right, so now that we have the file name here, what do I have in my project? All right, so got it loading the tar file. All right. And the tar file is running extract and okay. All right, so extract the tar file to, I did change the directory, right? Yeah, I changed the incoming directory. Okay, cool. So extract the tar file, tar xf, and we want to do file name and -c to the working directory. And theoretically, that should take that file, that tar file, extract it, and place the contents into the working directory. And here I have it untarring log message. All right, so just going to do echo lowercase. and do uppercase file name there. Go back and save. All right. So that untars that file there, puts it in the working directory, and then the next step would be to go to, well, it's got a note here saying done uncompressing the file. So I'll go ahead and put that note here in quotation marks, file name, and save that, and space that out a little bit more so it looks easier to read. All right, so that is the end of that part. So process pending file, have it doing that. All right, so I need to get the name of the Kdenlive file name from the render directory. All right, so it needs to now cd to the working directory, and all right, so cd to the working directory, get the file name that ends with Kdenlive, and this is setting a bunch of values here. So the Kdenlive file name, the output directory file name as an MP4, and replacing that Kdenlive part, taking it out of the file name, and then so showing what the final two files are there. All right, so working directory, and then so in that working directory, I want the name of the Kdenlive file name. So do ls1 Kdenlive with the asterisk in front of it, and then I will set that to Kdenlive file is equal to that. All right, and so now that I have my Kdenlive file, I also need my video output file name, which would be the output directory. So the file name of the output directory slash, okay. All right, so we're doing Kdenlive file name. All right, so going to do the output file is equal to the Kdenlive file name there. All right. Hey, I guess your name is Bram Juvie. I'm not sure how to pronounce it on YouTube. If you have any questions, just let me know at any point. All right, so output file name will be the Kdenlive file name, and that is actually going to, really I need to strip that. So I need to echo this, lowercase echo the file name, and then do sed like we did before. Where was it? It's up here. So essentially I can copy this and do that, and instead of GZ it'll be Kdenlive, and so that will be the output file, and then I want to append to the output file name, so I'm gonna do that equals output file dot mp4 lowercase, and that should work as is. And so just to test this out, let me go find wrong command. All right, so I'm gonna make up a file with the file name of Kdenlive. So actually we can just do this and do touch, put that in quotation mark, Kdenlive. There we go, get status, nope, wrong command. All right, do ls. All right, so I have my file here. And so if I run the commands that I wrote here, where are they? All right, so ls. So if I do that, If I do echo of the Kdenlive file, I should get that, which is correct. And then if I run this, it should come back without Kdenlive. Actually, it came back without the whole thing. Okay. Oh, because it's Kdenlive file. Wow. Okay. Good thing I caught that. All right. So now if I run this, copy, paste. There we go. All right. So we got our file name without it. And so if I copy this again and just paste it here. All right. So my output file, echo output file, should have the value that it got here, which is the same. And so if I do that with the quote.mp4 at the end of it, it should have that, which it does. All right, so we're good on that part with the output file. All right, so this part of the Java, this part of the Java, come on, do that, is almost done. Need to stick the output directory on the front of that file name. So I'm gonna do one more modification and do so I do output file again. I could concatenate these into fewer lines if possible, but I'm gonna just break it out for the sake of simplicity. There we go. All right, so the output file will go directly into the YouTube directory with a slash. Do I have a slash on the files up here? No, I don't. All right, so slash the previous output file, and that should be it. All right, and so we have the full output file here with the directory path, which is to the YouTube directory. All right, and so that accomplishes this part here. And so if we do the last two, it should render out what those file names for. So lowercase echo Kdenlive file, which would be Kdenlive file, and echo video output file, which is output file. There we go. All right, so where are we at? All right, so that gets these two files. All right, so you have a creating of the output directory and also rendering of the video. And so I need to also get the melt path, which if you don't know how to get the path of an executable on Linux, you can do which and then the name of the program. And so in this case, the program is called melt. So as you see, it's user bin melt. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this back into here as, I'm gonna put it here, melt, I don't want to call it executable. Melt, well, I guess it is the executable, or that was really a bin. So we'll do melt bin, because in Windows they call them executables. In Linux they call them binaries, or bin for short. So yeah, all right, so I'll put that there so that we have it, because that will be the same regardless of what type of video, whether it's a video for my dashcam channel or a video for my Almost Engineer channel that I'll be spitting out. Okay, so have the create of the output directory. I think that is already did that once. Yeah, so this would be the output directory. So no sense in creating it again if it didn't already exist. The next one is to render video. And so I'm passing in the Kdenlive file name, the video output file name, and the melt property. All right, so the next would be to open that file. And so I'll be wrapping the stream up in a few moments. If you all have any questions, feel free to drop those now before the end. If you don't have any questions now, but come up with some later, you can leave those in the comments on the video for this on my YouTube channel. And I'll answer them on the YouTube channel. Or if you're on Instagram, you can send me a message there and I will respond back after the stream is over with. All right, so done compressing the file. Okay, so I'm done with this one. All right, so processing the pending file, file operations, create a folder. All right, so render video. Where's this function at? Render full length. Where am I declaring that at? Render video, render video, render video. Is that a function? It's not a function in here. All right, here we go. So render full length. All right. Render video. So if any of those are empty, then it throws an exception. All right, and it is taking the melt path and splitting it. I'm not sure why I'm splitting it like that. Reading Kdenlive file for the resolution information. Okay. So new file, buffer reader, if line contains that, then strip out the information. So, okay. And this is something I had to figure out because Kdenlive, the value when you're rendering that, it is taking it and passing it into melt so that it knows how to output the file. And so you have to pass that in as a value into the arguments that is calling for the melt operation to run. And so, yeah. I got to see how to figure out how to get this part next. All right. So, all right. So you work on this last little bit, and then that will be the end for this video. Like I say, follow-up videos will be done on my YouTube channel, so you can check those out at a later point in time. All right. So we have the Kdenlive file name. We're getting the looking for this particular line in the file. All right, and I got to read the file. All right, so and get resolution from Kdenlive file. And so no going to need that. So actually going to do a grep for that string in the Kdenlive file, and then going to put that into a variable called resolution. And actually that needs to go inside dollar parentheses and parentheses. Okay, so that should find the resolution. And what else am I doing here? I think it's stripping off the index plus 1. So, all right, so it's stripping off the beginning property of this and then closing the ending property of this and setting that into the resolution variable. All right, so that is pretty straightforward. All right, so I can use sed to get rid of that part. I believe that's still the same in there. And I may have to do a little bit more here to, might have to actually pull up a Kdenlive file, cd video, yt Here you go. All right, so going to do view to Opelika. There we go. All right, and so in there, looking for dot properties profile profile. There we go. All right, so looking for this line, and I want to strip out this property. So I'm going to copy this and go back to my command and do a echo of resolution, and I'm going to put that into sed -e, and I'm looking for this part of it, and I will need to escape the quotes equal slash, put that back there. And actually, I'm not going to use the slashes in this one. I'm going to use the pipe character as my separator. So that, whoops, wrong side, pipe. I need to replace all of that, so I'm going to leave that empty with a G at the end. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time it's going to be for the closing of the property tag. So copy that, and I'm going to replace all of this with that. All right, so now I should only get my resolution from that. All right, so we've run a full hour on this particular coding session. I'll call it the quits right here for now. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down in the comment section. If you would like to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and to give this video a thumbs up. I'll be glad to do them in the future. Again, you know, this is shell scripting, but I'll be doing other videos in like C#, HTML, PHP, etc. in the future, just as, you know, the need arises. So